Hello and welcome back to Lessons in Self-Worth. Today I'm going to talk about something that quietly chips away at your self-worth and your self-esteem without you even realizing it until you do see it. This is the idea of thinking in absolute. So if you're doing the work, it's a big one to try and get on top of today. Absolutes, when I talk about absolutes, I'm talking about words or thoughts that describe all or nothing, black or white extremes. When you think in absolutes, there's no middle ground. Something is either completely true or it is completely false. It shows up a lot in self-criticism, during conflict. It really keeps you feeling low. It keeps you in this cycle and it tends to breed more thoughts like it. So I'm Carly Ann. I work with people who appear capable, high functioning, high achieving, confident on the outside, but internally you are struggling with self-doubt, rumination, worrying, overthinking, not feeling good enough, and you know that you're worthy, but you're still repeating patterns that undermine your confidence, that keep you feeling stuck. And in some cases, you know that you're not respecting or doing what's best for yourself. So common examples of absolutes, and I want you to think about how you see this showing up when you're feeling hard on yourself or when you're going through a rejection or when you're in conflict with someone. Common examples are using words like always, never, everybody, nobody. When we're using absolutes, it can be a real sign that we are thinking negatively and missing out a lot of information. Always, I always mess up. Never, I'll never succeed. Everybody / nobody, nobody cares about me. Everyone leaves me. Words like impossible, totally, completely. It's impossible for me to be happy. I completely failed. And with other people, we might say, you always let me down. You never give me attention. You always go out on the weekend. And when we really break it down, you know what? We don't always mess up. There's many times where we don't mess up. It's not that we never succeed. There are times where we have been successful. In those moments when we're using those words, it really distorts reality. When we are saying, you never give me attention, it is making us feel like we're with someone that absolutely never gives us attention, and we believe it in that moment. Life is rarely all or nothing, but when your brain starts to focus on these extremes and use this kind of language, it makes these situations feel permanent. It makes things feel impossible. It makes you feel even smaller or stuck in this moment than perhaps you are. Absolutes are like magnifying glasses. They make problems look bigger and more permanent than they actually are. And it heightens the anxiety. It increases your low mood. It feeds the self-doubt. I see it a lot in relationships. I see it a lot when your anxious attachment is triggered, when you feel stuck on something about your partner. And it's so easy to get stuck and spiral and then wind yourself up. You're thinking they never listen to me. And trust me, although it might be an issue and it might be that they do need to listen more, when you say they never listen, that heightens the conflict, it heightens how you feel, and it keeps it going, and it really stops you being able to pause and actually discuss the communication issues that you do mean, because all they're stuck is saying, what do you mean I never listened to you? That's not true. They're thinking of times that they've listened to you last week or that they gave you attention last week. So these words, they take us away from the actual problem at hand. Absolute ways of thinking, they feel intense and urgent, and at first they seem believable, and that's the problem. This is the problem we're having here, is that in the moment you really, really believe it. Thinking in absolutes, yes, it distorts reality, but it, like I was saying, in terms of it heightening, it heightens your reactions. Yeah, when your brain is seeing things like this and magnifying, it means that you're ignoring the balanced side of it. You are ignoring or not seeing when things went right, the people who care, the wins. You're missing the joy. and you're feeding into worst case scenarios or that things are never going to happen, in that moment when you're thinking in absolutes like that, what do you think happens to hope? What do you think happens to the sense of peace? That's why a small mistake or a rough day can feel catastrophic. It's not just the negative thinking. This is like a shortcut that your brain is using that takes you straight to how bad this is, that things are never good, and we miss the truth. And that truth could be what helps us feel slightly calmer today. So as always, the first step is for you to really notice the extreme words that you use. Watch out, and if it's possible, avoid using words like always, never, everybody, nobody. When I'm doing thought work with people, which is with the ongoing therapy, the thought work is a huge part of the work that we do. And in fact, and single session therapy, just digressing. But in terms of the thought work that I do with people, I'm a CBT therapist. When you can notice that you are using words like that and avoid it, when I tell you it can change a whole situation, it can absolutely stop you from acting out. It can give you the space to breathe. I'm not exaggerating. Once you notice it, you're able to challenge it. Is it 100% true? Is it really true that they never give me attention? Is it really true that I never succeed? Is it really true that I always mess up? Because you know what? You can recall the moments, and you have the ability to do this, to recall the times when it wasn't true, when you did succeed, when people have stood by you. This helps your brain see this situation more clearly. I'm such a big believer in the language that you use. That's why I love affirmations. That's why I'm all for compassionate statements. Swapping words like always for sometimes, or never for not yet. That's one of my favorites. Or everybody for some people. Do you notice it's not feeding into like this positive idea? We're not saying everyone loves me and I always do things right. And, I'm not saying that. We're just changing it to sometimes. Sometimes people like me. Sometimes I do things well. Okay, this hasn't happened yet. That simple word. Some people do like me. Instead of saying I'll never get better, start saying I'm struggling now, but I can make progress. These small shifts in your language will make a big difference in how your mind interprets events and how you feel. And if you are here trying to change how you feel day to day and how you show up in this world, then using new language in how you think is really a great way to do that. I want you to treat yourself like a friend. If a friend said, I always mess up, you wouldn't fully believe them. You'd remind them of the times that they didn't. You'd remind them of their strengths, their wins, and the times that things went well. You would remember those things about them, and try doing that for yourself. Your mistakes, your struggles, they're not who you are. They do not equal your worth. They're your humanness. And thinking in absolutes, whilst it's common, especially for low self-esteem, it doesn't have to control you. So begin to notice your thoughts, begin challenging these extreme words in this language, speaking to yourself with kindness and softer and more realistic words, and just practice that for a week and see the difference it makes. I once gave a client the task to alternate her days. I want you to keep speaking in your absolutes one day, and then the next day I want you to use this new language that we created together. And then we looked at the impact on her mood and what she did. Which days do you think that she felt better? Which days do you think that she had a spring in her step? Which days do you think that her relationship felt calmer and better? Which days was she able to soothe herself? The list goes on. The days where she was not using the absolutes. It made such a difference, and we saw it there in black and white. If you want to work with me directly, feel free to send me a message, say I would love to work on the absolutes. I see myself doing that. I'd absolutely love to work on my thoughts, and we can look at what the best options are for you. Like I said, I offer 3-month intensive. I offer 2-hour single sessions. I offer ongoing therapy, sort of longer term. And yeah, we can find out what works for you. If you want to join the community and you want to make sure that you are here and part of this world with us, that are also, a group of people that are also doing this work together, go to the description and join your self-worth reset. Even if you want the replay, you need to be signed up to that. So just put your name and email in. Join the Telegram. I'm dropping insights and wisdom and behind the scenes into there just randomly. And yeah, thank you for being here. I really would love this podcast to grow. It's a slow burner, this podcast. But if you've taken anything from this, what can make a really big difference for the podcast, for me, for this community, is if you leave a review and if you subscribe. A 5-star review and a subscription to it is huge. That would make all the difference. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here. Remember, life is not black and white, and neither is your self-worth. You are enough, even on the days that your brain tries to convince you otherwise. I will be back here very soon.